Hello. In the morning, I woke up and it was beautiful. Blue sunshine sky. And I went out in my alpine yard and there it was. Everything JP said it was. Hundreds of miles of pure snow-covered rocks and virgin lakes and high timber. And below, instead of the world, I saw a sea of marshmallow clouds, flat as a roof, and extending miles and miles in every direction, creaming all the valleys, what they call low-level clouds on my 6,600-foot pinnacle. It was all far below me. I brewed coffee on the stove and came out and warmed my mist-drenched boats in the hot sun of my little wood steps. I said, "T-T," to a big furry coney, and he calmly enjoyed a minute with me gazing at the sea of clouds. I made bacon and eggs, dug a garbage pit 100 yards down the trail, hauled wood and identified landmarks with my panoramic and firefinder, and named all the magic rocks and clefts, names JP had sung to me so often. Jack Mountain, Mount Terror, Mount Fury, Mount Challenger, Mount Despair, Golden Horn, Sourdough, Crater Peak, Ruby, Mount Baker, bigger than the world in the western distance, Jackass Mountain, Crooked Thumb Peak, and the fabulous names of the creeks. Three Fools, Cinnamon, Troubling Lightning, and Freeze Out. And it was all mine. Not another human pair of eyes in the world were looking at this immense cycloramic universe of matter. I had a tremendous sensation of its dreamlikeness, which never left me all that summer, and in fact grew and grew, especially when I stood up on my head to circulate my blood, right on top of the mountain, using a burlap bag for a head mat. And then the mountains looked like little bubbles hanging in the void upside down. In fact, I realized they were upside down, and I was upside down, and I was upside down. There was nothing here to hide the fact of gravity holding us all intact, upside down against the surface of globe, of eternity and infinite empty space. And suddenly, I realized I was truly alone and had nothing to do but feed myself and rest and amuse myself, and nobody could criticize. The little flowers grew everywhere around the rocks, and no one had asked them to grow, or me to grow. In the afternoon, the marshmallow roof of clouds blew away in patches, and Ross Lake was open to my sight, a beautiful cerulean pool far below with tiny toy boats of vacationists, the boats themselves too far to see, just the pitiful little tracks they left reeling in the mirror lake. You could see pines reflected upside down in the lake, pointing to infinity. Late afternoon, I lay in the grass with all that glory before me, and grew a little bored and thought, there's nothing there because I don't care. Then I jumped up and began singing and dancing and whistling through my teeth far across the lightning gorge, and it was too immense for an echo. Behind the shack was a huge snowfield that would provide me with fresh drinking water till September. Just a bucket a day let melt in the house. To dip into with a tin cup, cold ice water. I was feeling happier than in years and years since childhood. I felt deliberate and glad and solitary. Buddy-o, yidam-didam-dee, I sang, walking around kicking rocks. Then my first sunset came, and it was unbelievable. The mountains were covered with pink snow. The clouds were distant and frilly, and like ancient remote cities of Buddha land splendor. The wind worked incessantly, whish, whish, booming at times, rattling my ship. The new moon disk was pragmatic and secretly funny in the pale plank of blue over the monstrous shoulders of haze that rose from Ross Lake. Sharp jags popped up from behind slopes. Like childhood mountains, I grayly drew. Somewhere, it seemed the golden festival of rejoicing was taking place. In my diary, I wrote, "Oh, I'm happy." In the late day peaks, I saw the hope. JP had been right. As darkness enveloped my mountain, and soon it would be night again, and stars and abominable snowmen stalking on Hosemeade, I started a cracking fire in the stove, and baked delicious rye muffins, and mixed up a good beef stew. A high west wind buffeted the shack. It was well built, with steel rods going down into the concrete pourings. It wouldn't blow away. I was satisfied. Every time I'd look out the windows, I'd see alpine firs with snow-capped backgrounds, blinding mists, or the lake below all riffled and moony like a toy bathtub lake. I made myself a little bouquet of lupine and mountain posies and put them in a coffee cup with water. The top of Jack Mountain was done in by silver clouds. Sometimes I'd see flashes of lightning far away, illuminating suddenly the unbelievable horizons. Some mornings there was fog in my ridge, Starvation Ridge, would be milky over completely. On the dot, the following Sunday morning, just like the first daybreak revealed a sea of flat, shining clouds 1,000 feet below me. Every time I felt bored, I rolled another cigarette out of my can of Prince Albert. There's nothing better in the world than rolling your own deeply enjoyed without hurry. I paced in the bright silver stillness with pink horizons in the west, and all the insects ceased in honor of the moon. There were days that were hot and miserable with locusts of plagues and insects, winged ants, heat, no air, no clouds. I couldn't understand how the top of a mountain in the north could be so hot. At noon, the only sound in the world was the symphonic hum of a million insects, my friends. But night would come, and with it the mountain moon, and the lake would be moonling, and I'd go out and sit in the grass and meditate facing west, wishing there were a personal God in all this impersonal matter. I'd go out to my snowfield and dig out my jar of purple jello and look at the white moon through it. I could feel the world rolling toward the moon. At night, while I was in my bag, the deer would come up from the lower timber and nibble at leftovers in tin plates in the yard. Bucks with white antlers does. Does. And cute little fawns looking like otherworldly mammals on another planet, with all that moonlight rock behind them. Then would come wild, lyrical, drizzling rain from the south in the wind, and I'd say, the taste of rain, why kneel? And I'd say, time for hot coffee and the cigarette, boys, addressing my imaginary bhikkhus. The moon became full and huge, and with it came Aurora Borealis over Mount Hozumim. Look at the void, and it is even stiller, Han Shan had said in Japhie's translation. And in fact, I was so still, all I had to do was shift my crossed legs in the alpine grass, and I could hear the hooves of deer running away somewhere. Standing on my head before bedtime on that rock roof of the moonlight, I could indeed see that the earth was truly upside down, and man a weird vain beetle full of strange ideas, walking around upside down and boasting. And I could realize that man remembered why this dream of planets and plants had Plantagenets was built out of the primordial essence. Sometimes I'd get mad because things didn't work out well. I'd spoil a flapjack or slip in the snowfield while getting water, or one time my shovel went sailing down into the gorge, and I'd be so mad I'd want to bite the mountaintops and would come in the shack and kick the cupboard and hurt my toe. But let the mind beware that though the flesh be bugged, the circumstances of existence are pretty glorious. All I had to do was keep an eye on all horizons for smoke and run the two-way radio and sweep the floor. The radio didn't bother me much. There were no fires close enough for me to report ahead of anybody else, and I didn't participate in the lookout chats. They dropped me a couple of radio batteries by parachute, but my own batteries were still in good shape. One night, in a meditation vision, Avalokitesvara, the hearer and answerer of prayer, said to me, "You are empowered to remind people that they are utterly free." So I laid my hand on myself to remind myself first, and then felt gay, yelled, "Ta!" Opened my eyes and the shooting star shot. The innumerable worlds in the Milky Way. Words. I ate my soup in little doleful bowlfuls, and it tasted much better than in some vast terrain. My Japhie pea and bacon soup. I took 2-hour naps every afternoon, waking up and realizing none of this ever happened. As I looked around my mountaintop, the world was upside down, hanging in an ocean of endless space. And here were all these people sitting in theaters, watching movies, down there in the world to which I would return, pacing in the yard at dusk, singing wee small hours. Then I came to the lines when the whole wide world is fast asleep. My eyes filled with tears. Okay, world, I said, I'll love you. In bed at night, warm and happy in my bag in the good hemp bunk, I'd see my table and my clothes in the moonlight and feel, poor Raymond boy, his day is so sorrowful and worried. His reasons are so ephemeral. It's such a haunted and pitiful thing to have to live. And on this, I'd go to sleep like a lamb. Are we fallen angels who didn't want to believe that nothing is nothing? And so we're born to lose our loved ones and dear friends one by one, and finally our own life to see it proved? But cold morning would return, with clouds billowing out of lightning gorge, like giant smoke, the lake below still cerulean and neutral, an empty space, the same as ever. O gnashing teeth of earth, where would it all lead to but some sweet golden eternity, to prove that we've all been wrong, to prove that proving itself was nil.